We could, or we could alternate sentences.
Alternate words.
Yeah. Do you wanna get a script? Well, do you think we can get it to a point where we're like flowing really easily?
See, this is the kind of wacky shit that Onod wouldn't let us get away with. He's so by the point.
He's not going to be able to edit this.
He's like, guys, you're not taking this seriously.
3, 2, 1. Good
morning.
And I almost said welcome, for fuck's sake. Let's try again. Okay, this is going to be hard. Good
morning
and
welcome
to
the
Hobby
Breakfast
Show.
Kicking off. Oh shit!
Keep going.
Morning
with
Hobby
Chat. Fucking hell.
Your
hosts
this
morning
are
myself,
the
Mayor,
and
as
everyone's.
You've skipped a bit there.
I was going to do everyone's favourite member of the podcast, OT.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like most of the listeners are already tuned out. So,
are we going to start again?
Well, or you could just tell us what we're doing today.
Okay. Today we'll be chatting about some news, even though there isn't much, some hobby, which we haven't done, and then we'll be looking at some 500-point lists for an upcoming tournament, which will be the main meat and potatoes of the podcast.
Fantastic. Stay tuned, everyone. Okay, so as you might have realised, Onod isn't here with us this week. He's ditched us, and so it's just myself and OT. And as we're the only two going to this upcoming tournament, in a little bit, we're going to talk about some 500-point lists that we could potentially take. It's a Christmas event, so it is a little bit fun, I believe. It's meant to be a little bit fun. So we've got some lists to go through for that.
I don't think either of us are taking it super seriously, are we? I think we're quite laid back about.
I think most of the people who are going to be fairly chill. So I think if we just rocked up with like some net lists, everyone would be a bit like, "Do you mind? Not sure this tournament's for you. This is about Christmas, spirit. Damn it." Yeah. Well, the tournament's run by someone who's going to probably do lots of like little spot prizes for things and make it quite a fun event. So it is going to be more of a fun event. But so why don't we do news first? I can't remember.
Yeah,
because
we normally did Rings of Power, and then we talked about news, and then we talked about hobby. But to be honest, I think this week there's no Rings of Power, so we probably just dive straight into the news.
Cool. So news then. There's pre-order stuff.
There's so many fucking pre-orders on the Warhammer community page. My God.
Yeah, I've barely got halfway through the web page. And there's like upgrades for shit, a book for Citizens of Battle. I don't even know what this is for.
So it's Vanguard boxes. I don't do 40k or fantasy, so I don't know what those are. But yeah, there's some dice which cost 25 quid. 25 quid dice.
Where are those the ogre dice?
The ogre dice, 25 quid.
Wow, you get 20 of them for some reason.
Yeah, slightly over £1 per dice.
It's the same as the Kill Team dice. I think you get 20, but they're not 25 quid. I think they're 20 quid. Yeah, even that's pretty big.
Yeah. But yeah, the Slaves of Darkness box was 120 quid, which actually seems to be fairly standard for their boxes these days. Like I think that was the price for the Osgiliath one as well. So
it doesn't look like you get that many models, though, does it?
No, but there appears to be. I know nothing about this, but it looks like there's some kind of rule book and the cards or something at the back that you get chucked in.
No doubt, completely necessary to play.
Yeah, I mean, again, I assume as with all these boxes, you'll get a reasonable discount, and like it's actually not that like terrible in terms of value. But like, I mean, compared to the Lotra box, like you're getting nowhere near as many models. Maybe they're a bit cooler, but.
The Bloodpelt Hunter, not that I'm eating a piece of toast. He's super cool. He's got like lots of animal heads and stuff that he's using as a quiver.
Mm-hmm. He's only 30.
The ogre stuff's really cool.
He's 30 quid. Like
what
I was about to say only. I got again no real sense of scale. I assume he's on like a 40 mil base, but maybe a bit bigger than that. What's he supplied with? Yeah, supplied on a 40mm base.
So a cav base. He's not that tall. I feel like that's a bit much maybe for him.
I think he's on the same sprue as the one I got Elrond on. So maybe that's just how they price those kind of things, like that size sprue.
Maybe they're just not expecting to sell that many, so they've got to up the price.
Yeah.
Make the money back on the tooling.
If you pre-order, you'll supposedly get them by the end of next week, which is fairly good. They do turn around their pre-orders pretty well. Fair play to them. Like my pre-orders that I got through them were done pretty efficiently. £55 for 3 models, the man-eaters.
Yeah, I mean we all know what their theme song is.
Nice. Make you work hard. Anyway, dangerous at range. They kind of look like what's his name? Is he from Dota? What's his name? The guy who
I have no idea about any of the characters from Dota.
Okay.
Oh, the guy with the giant hook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm seeing the man-eater with a giant hook at least.
Yeah.
The new 40k assassins look pretty cool, although I'm not convinced by their paint scheme.
The highlighting just looks a bit weird. Like, I mean, I'm no painting expert, but that does just look a little bit odd.
It looks like he's got like electric pulses going around his clothes.
Presumably that's the idea. Some kind of like power on the ship. Yeah, but nothing SBG related that I can see, having scrolled all the way down. They're still trying to flog their Necromunda terrain. Right.
So just some random Necromunda stuff. Nothing we are ever going to buy is on this page.
Yeah. I mean, you could talk about the Goth Rocker, the Christmas model.
He's pretty cool.
He is pretty cool.
I thought I was just scrolling Facebook and I saw it. I just scrolled past it, assuming it was some third-party model. But no, actually, that's GW. I'm quite impressed.
It's pretty out there for GW. Like I think it's pretty cool. I don't know if it offends some kind of ancient 40k lore, but he does look pretty cool.
No, I don't think so. I think them. No, they do have Goth Rockers. They've always been in like the lore.
Okay,
I think that's all the news.
Yeah, we've somehow squeezed 7 minutes out of that, so that's pretty good. That's good filler.
All of the stuff that we're not interested in. You're welcome, listener.
Hobby. I have. What have I done? I actually don't think I've picked up a paintbrush since we recorded the last episode. I have assembled 3 Riv Knights, but I haven't even primed them, so I'm not going to count those.
So what number are they?
They will be 7, 8, and 9. And I think, actually, looking ahead, I think that's all I'll need for the Christmas one, although I may actually end up taking a few more, depending on the lists I do. So, yeah.
Fair.
I think I'll have actually, because I think I said, I can't remember if it's like episode 7 or episode 8, that there was no way I'd have the Riv Knights done, but hopefully I'll have them done by Christmas if I do want to bring them along.
I think you'll manage, just about.
Yeah. And if they're painted a bit crap, like at least I can just get them on the table. If nothing else, like I'm not super fussy.
I've started taking that attitude with a lot of my models. Yeah. I have so many grey models, as I'm sure everyone does, but I seem to be buying them at a greater pace than I'm painting them.
Yeah,
especially with Kill Team.
That's what he said when Onod was talking about his approach to buying new models and stuff. Like, it's just a constant rate of like falling behind, because he was even talking about buying new stuff this week, wasn't he? Despite his solemn pledge to not buy any until March. Anyway.
Yeah, we were looking at War Master. Right?
Yeah, but then we were even talking about the Battle Host boxes that were 20% off. No, sorry, 30% off at Wayland. That made them like £35 for the box or something, and you're getting like a hero, box of cav, and the box of troops for like £35, which is
insane.
Pretty decent. Have you done any hobby?
I built the half of 3 Space Marines.
Okay.
So it doesn't really count, I don't think. But it did take me the whole of the Wales-New Zealand game to do that. So
nice.
They just take forever to because I'm so fussy with their pose and stuff.
Okay.
But I am going to be hosting a Kill Team tournament in Cheltenham, which will be good.
Okay.
So if for some reason you're a listener who's into Kill Team and in the Cheltenham area,
in the vicinity of Cheltenham,
i.e.
hit us up
within 100 miles, please come. Literally, I just couldn't find any UK Kill Team tournaments that weren't in London where I really don't want to go. And my colleague and I who play, we were just like, well, we know one other person to do it. That's 3 of us. So in theory, we only need one other person to have a Kill Team tournament. 4 people is enough. And we've got 6 at the moment, which is good. So at least we won't have to play each other, if nothing else. But I just felt like, oh, well, if no one's running one, I'll just have to run one and play in it. So hopefully there's an even number of players. But yeah, so Kill Team. I just want to like start painting stuff to almost get them out the door. Just like I'm almost beyond caring what quality they are at this point. I just want to do like block paint and then a layer of skill with a wash and just leave it at that. So
that's very
all
sound.
that hobby that we've been doing.
Cool. Okay, so that's hobby done. Right. Now we're on to the actual bit that we've prepared for and are enthusiastic to talk about. Let's talk about some lists.
Yeah, so why are we making these lists, OT?
So we've got our tournament coming up on, I don't even know when it is. Is it the 21st or something? I can't remember the exact date of the tournament. It's near Christmas time.
I think it's the weekend before the 21st.
Okay.
Think. Wait, 21st of December is a Wednesday, so it's definitely not that. It's the 10th, I think.
Okay, cool. So we're making them for then. We've got 500-point lists, and I think there's a balance to be struck, isn't there? As we mentioned earlier on, that like I think we both want to take lists that we're interested in, but also like I don't think either of us are going to be taking super try hard lists, and it's maybe more about like trying to take a cool theme and models we're excited to use than like strictly about being competitively viable. So yeah, I think like I especially have been putting up a variety of like 500-point lists on the group chat, and we're just going to talk about some of those today and like why certain lists are maybe we think are better or worse than others, and like not strictly thinking about competitive viability, but theme, price, other stuff as well. A bit like we've been doing with the Legendary Legions.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll pick a list to go forward with, because I know that only one of my lists requires building and painting things, but it's also the list I think I want to do. So I'm hoping you'll persuade me out of that.
We'll I'm taking that list. Cool.
So yeah, what are some of the kind of criteria we're going to judge these by then?
So I think we've got 6 things, don't we? There's the theme of the list. So like, do we enjoy what the theme's doing? So I think, for instance, me and Onod have for our doubles list, we were very much focused on like what's a cool theme first, and then competitive viability afterwards.
Did we ever reveal what your doubles list is going to be?
Because I swear it's not quite finalised yet.
Right.
It's dependent on painting rates.
Is it the Hobbit Heroes?
No. So ours will probably be the hybrid of Rivendell and Fellowship. So the Riv Knights, and then his Fellowship stuff.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
So we're also going to be thinking about like whether we enjoy playing them, if they're like fun in inverted commas, and then also whether they're competitive and like finally cost effectiveness, because I think that's something we've talked about a lot with Legendary Legions as well. It's like you don't want to be collecting a list if it's going to be stupidly expensive and prevent you from buying other things that you might want to buy.
Yeah, I think fortunately for us, we've pretty much got most of the models for all the lists we're considering. So cool. Well, why don't you start us off then?
Okay. So first list is my initial list. I would say this is like the most try-hardy of my lists. I think it's the only one that is like good. It's Witch King with full kit on a horse. He's got 17 will, 3 might, 3 fate. I'd also take a dead Marsh Spectre, 4 orcs and shields. 4 orcs with spear and shield, 6 orcs with shields, and 2 orcs with just spears. Then I'd also take 2 Warg Riders with either a shield or a throwing spear. I'm not quite sure yet. And then finally a couple of Wild Wargs. Then the second warband would be Buhrdur with Dead Marsh Spectre, 2 Wild Wargs, 4 Orcs with shields, 2 Orcs with spears, 2 Orcs with spear and shield, and 1 Warg Rider with a shield. And you'll hopefully be able to see those on screen right now, because I'm going to put together a PowerPoint for Onod to edit into the podcast.
Fucking brilliant. You've got a PowerPoint. So what's on the screen then for our listeners / viewers?
So that's,
so I can visualize it as well.
Yeah. So that it'll just be probably like a screenshot of this list.
Oh, sure.
Like with it split into the 2 warbands.
Cool. Yeah, I think you've obviously got like a good mix of stuff in each warband that's going to allow each warband to handle things fairly. Dead Marsh Spectres are really nice. You've not used those before, have you?
No, I haven't.
They're going to be really tasty, I think, especially with Buhrdur wandering around.
Yeah.
Did you give any equipment to the Witch King? Just the horse?
Yeah. Just no Morgul blade or anything like that.
Okay.
He's just 3 might, 17 will, 3 fate.
And they're 31 models. Is that what that's at the bottom?
Yep.
31 models. Okay. I'm just scrolling to quickly see how many models are in some of these other ones.
31 is one of the higher model counts.
Yeah, but it's still not it's not mega high, but I think you've got obviously the Witch King and Buhrdur, which limits that somewhat. You do have the Wild Wargs, which will help you with movement and like take objectives, and because they're infantry, you can pick up objectives and stuff with them, which is really nice. You've got your little orc blocks. They're quite small orc blocks. I feel like you're going to be using them to facilitate Buhrdur and the Witch King smashing shit up, as opposed to...
So there's 12 orcs in the Witch King, and then there's 8 orcs in Buhrdur's. Like, it's 20 orcs in total, which I felt like was probably enough. Just going through the points, like, I think the theme's okay. Like, it's not themed around a particular period. Like, it's not something there are definitely lists I'm more interested in the theme of, but like, I think it plays into the army bonus quite nicely, because I've got Spirit Hero with the orcs, so hopefully that works quite well. I think I actually have all the miniatures painted for this one, and like, I still think the Witch King's one of my favourite minis I've painted ever. So yeah, I did enjoy painting these. Buhrdur was actually really fun as well. Like, he's a bit of an old school metal model, so there isn't a huge amount of detail on him, but he is actually quite fun to paint. In terms of like play style, I don't know. I think it's going to rely a lot on like the Spectres and the Witch King, like using magic and obviously the fell sight ability for the Spectres quite effectively. I was sort of wondering partially about like using the Dead Marsh Spectres ability to bring them in range of like the Warg Riders and stuff like that, and the Wargs with their 10-inch move. I thought that might be a thing. Because I think what some people do, and actually the match you talked about at Ardacon, where like the guy dragged a guy forward with the Spectre and then charged with Gullivar, and then combated off there. Yeah. But I don't have the Gullivar model, and I'm not intending to buy him, so that's not going to be a thing. I
mean, I think you could, if your opponent's not careful, you don't have any ranged, which is fine. But obviously, the Witch King could, black dart a guy, and then you could compel a hero that's behind them or something forward and grab them with Buhrdur. So more inexperienced players will probably leave opportunities for you to do that. I think the challenge will be spotting those opportunities and creating a scenario, forcing your opponent into a position where they're going to make mistakes and you can manipulate things. Because I think you really need to it almost feels like your troops are not strong enough to hold their own without Buhrdur and the Witch King really pulling their weight. So I think that will be where the challenge lies, because you've got almost 300 points. Well, if we include the Spectres, you've got 300 points in sort of non-infantry troops, as it were. Which is obviously a very large proportion of your force. So I think as long as you can use those, and obviously Angmar's like quite a competitive list, so you've obviously traded out like you said, some of the theme for it being a bit more competitive. I think this is the list I'd be least excited about taking. I think like it's probably the list that would do best,
but I don't know. I might take this one, but there are other ones I'd be more interested in taking.
Okay.
And in terms of like cost effectiveness, this one was pretty easy because it's basically a box of Orcs, a box of Wargs, Deadmarsh Spectres, and Buhrdur and the Witch King. So it wasn't too bad.
Of course, because you don't need. I was just thinking that you must have had to buy a box of Wild Riders as well, but you get the disc. You don't. Do you have to do that? No. Did you buy a box of Wild Wargs?
So I got a box of Wild Wargs and a box of Warg Riders, but that was incidental. Like you could do it with just a box of Warg Riders because you can dismount them off the models.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess you need the spare Wild Wargs in case any Orcs get dismounted as well.
And they pass their courage test at courage 2.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, a few times where I've needed like 2 models on an objective, I've dismounted the Orc and then
just roll the dice and see what happens.
You're going to have at least one guy there.
Yeah.
So, cool list. Cool. I think 31 models for 500 points is like, it's not a bad model count, but because you mostly got Orcs, it's like borderline, maybe 500 isn't quite there. Maybe like 600 if you can buff out the warbands. Yeah. I feel like you do need the Witch King and Buhrdur, though, potentially, to make this work. So, yeah, cool.
Right. Let's talk about your Isengard list.
Yeah, so I thought I'd kind of go 1 for 1 and pick my evil list. Nice. This is Assault on Helm's Deep. Don't worry, listener, there are no ballistas. When I was writing this list, I was trying to think of armies that I obviously have everything for, that I could try something a bit more fun, but that might also pay off and be, in a way, competitive. Like, I feel like this could smash some lists, but will also do awfully against other lists.
Yeah.
I have no shooting whatsoever. 0 crossbowmen. So I've got 2 warbands.
No magic either.
No magic. Obviously, because it's Assault on Helm's. Well, I guess I could have taken a shaman.
Shaman. You're not going to do that.
No. So it's 2 warbands that are identical, apart from the first one, which has the commander in, has a banner with pike. So obviously we've got 2 captains with shield. One of them's upgraded to commander because of the Legion. So both warbands are 5 warriors with shield with that nice defense 6, 2 warriors with pike, just to stack up on either the captain or a important model. 1 beserker in each, just as like a bit of utility, a bit more of a if I need to punch a hole, I can try and put the berserker in with the pikes, for example. Or charge terror causing enemies. And then we've got a bomb team with 2 flaming brands in both warbands.
Nice.
So it's 25 models, so 6 less than your Orc list. And I don't know, I feel like you could probably just, I mean, if these Orcs would play, if these lists would play each other, you'd obviously just black dart the berserkers into oblivion, and then I'd probably struggle to get my bombs off, and eventually you grind me down. But I think because it's more of a fun tournament, I imagine some people will take lots of heroes or low model count lists, and some of them will be really high model count lists. They'll just be quite a mix, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see how the bombs do, because I've only ever used 1 in my list, and that was at Ardicon, and it was more of a deterrent. It did get a couple of big explosions, killing lots of enemy heroes. But if I have 2, then I can essentially use them as... no one's going to be able to get to any part of my army without there being a bomb nearby to threaten enemy heroes and stuff.
Yeah.
So...
And captains come with March, don't they? So if you keep the captain near the bomb, you... Like we're talking about with the when we reviewed our underrated, overrated models, like that combo with March is pretty brutal. Yeah,
I'd forgotten about that actually. So I guess it would be 6 inches plus the 3, so 9. So 9-inch bomb threat range.
Yeah,
pretty
and
big.
which itself has a 2-inch radius, doesn't it? So that's like 11 inches of
Yeah.
Pain.
11 inches of pain. Yeah. That's what she said. Might have to cut that.
You're not having any role in editing, so that's getting left in. I'm actually going to write it down specifically delete it.
Oh god. Okay. Yeah. So the 2 bomb teams, I think, could just be a bit of a laugh, really.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a pretty solid.
Are you a bit worried about your lack of ranged and how that combos with the bombs?
No, because
you're basically the image I have is you're going to be running across the board with your bombs trying to chase your opponent down.
That is exactly it. So yeah, you're right. Although on the one hand, I mean, maybe I should just put a ballista in here just to make sure my opponent has to come to me. I don't know.
Well, because that was my thought when we were reviewing your Aldecon list, and you were like the combo of those fucking ballistas with the bombs.
Yeah. Because they're gonna, if they have any bows, I'm gonna come to them. Although on the one hand, that's not such a bad thing because I will take board control. Whereas if I'm waiting for them to come to me because I've got a ballista, not only will I lose board control, but I won't have decimated them sufficiently by the time they get to me for me to actually win that fight and then quickly take over map control. So I figured because it is more of a fun tournament, I'd either go full ballista, which just seems like a dick move, or full demo
ranges
team.
Of a pillion.
Yeah, so and I don't want my opponents to just hate playing against me, especially when it's meant to be a fun tournament. I feel like if I took ballistas, I would be that guy. So I'd rather take the bombs and it be potentially hilarious and pull off some wacky shit.
Because I mean that's what the bombs do, isn't it? Like they are just the definition of like just something a bit wacky, and that's not to say they're bad, because they definitely are not bad. That we have seen in the games we played. Like they can definitely more than make up for their points. But like they are just quite high variance, and they are just gonna like in some games they'll do nothing, but in other games they will just win you, because like they killed Aragorn, for instance, didn't they? In the game you played against someone, and that's like 170, 180 points. Gone just for a bomb. Like
for the record, I did still almost win that game.
Yeah.
Bombs are good.
Yeah, they really are.
So should we move on to your dwarf list then?
Yeah, this is my home territory. They make me feel it's like in Rings of Power when you go to Khazad Guard, you just feel a bit like we're all going to be safe.
Okay.
So this is a list I made a while ago, and it was back when I thought Balin was really good, and now I don't think he's really good. I in fact think he's quite bad. But the list is Balin with 10 dwarves with shields, 3 Khazad Guard, and 3 dwarf rangers with bows and throwing axes. That's Warband 1. Warband 2 is a King's Champion, 5 dwarves with shields, 3 dwarf rangers with bows and throwing axes, and 2 Khazad Guard.
Cool. They're similar warbands, but one has 5 less shields and 1 less Khazad Guard. Do the Khazad Guard, they don't get any buffs or anything, do they?
No.
They're just Khazad Guard. And is it 30 models? Is that 30 models. That's quite a lot of models. For dwarves, you're matching pretty much your Angmar list, except they've got Buhrdur and the Witch King, which, to be fair, will probably make a difference. But tell us a bit about Balin, because he's 110 points, and I can't remember what his stats are, but I don't think he's 110 points with stats as far as I can remember.
So he's fight 6.
That's pretty good.
Strength 4, D8, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 6. I'm getting the book now, but I think I know this off by heart. He's 3 might, 3 will, 1 fate. And then he has a couple of special rules. He's got long beard, which lets him spend a point of will to re-roll a priority. So he can do that 3 times a game as long as he's not resisting magic. And then he also gets Durin's Axe, which is Master Forged 2-handed and lets you re-roll 1 dice in the dual roll.
Remind me what Master Forged is?
So free 2-handed weapon. You don't, a bit like having Burley with a 2-handed weapon.
Okay, cool. I mean, to be honest, he does kind of sound like he's worth 110. I mean, like Gimli's 100.
Yeah.
And like, well, are they 90? I can't remember. 90 or 100. He's not far off that. Gimli's 100. So for 10 points more, you're getting fight 6, which is pretty good.
But Gimli's
you're
fight
not getting.
6.
Yeah, shit, he is, isn't he?
Yeah. And Gimli can have 3 attacks.
Yeah.
If
but then you're not two-handing. But yeah.
Yeah.
But he has the same two-handed. No, does he get a -1? Gimli gets a -1, doesn't he?
No, he's Masterforged two-handed as well.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. So
and he gets thrown, and he gets well because
he's got the rules though.
He's got the rules.
Yeah,
and
I feel like they could be quite useful.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like the problem with Balin is the Dwarf King exists, and the Dwarf King is 75 points. He's fight 6, strength 4, D8, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 6, 2 might, 2 will, 1 fate.
So he's the same stat line, but one less might and fate, might and will.
Yeah, and he doesn't get the Masterforged two-handed. He doesn't get Longbeard, but he's 35 points cheaper.
Yeah, I feel like Balin should be 10 points cheaper, but regardless, it's one dwarf, and hopefully you're not losing the game because you've got one less dwarf. So but no, I think you've obviously got some bows and lots of dwarves with shields, which are always solid. And then the King's Champion with his banners. So I think you've got a good spread, and it's quite a safe list in terms of you're not going to have too much trouble like playing it. Like it's not going to be like the Witch King where you could do a million things.
Yeah,
you've just
got this list is much more straightforward.
Yeah, and you've got the bows, so you've got a bit of versatility, and they can.
I don't know. I think that like in this list, the worry I would have is like Balin dying because he's 2 wounds on fate, and he will be my leader. But I don't think I'm going to be charging him in as much. Like with the King's Champion knocking around, I imagine he'll be the one out in the front line with his heralds, whereas I can afford to pick and choose a little bit more with Balin. The slight disadvantage is everything is move 5, and I have no cav. Which is problematic.
I mean, as long as you're playing at like a fair pace, you've got some shooting, but I imagine if you're like having to run at the board, you'll probably just run those guys with everyone else. So if your opponent's got shooting and you're going to them, you'll have map control, and it'll be hard to get you off stuff. If they're coming to you, I mean, that's not going to be a problem. I feel like you're going to be able to outfight most armies. So if like the race to the middle of the board isn't necessarily a problem, unless it's like certain scenarios you might struggle a bit with.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that we highlighted I can't remember why we were talking about it, but if you can get dwarves into the right position on the board, like they are so hard to shift. Because I've got, how many dudes have I got who are D7? I've got like 20 warriors who are all D7. And like shifting them, and the Khazad Guard have bodyguard and stuff like that. Like it, and part of the reason I opted for the Dwarf Rangers over the Dwarf Warriors with bows is just because like that 6-inch extra range might help force opponents towards me a bit, because otherwise, if they've got, if they're outranging me as well with 24-inch bows, I just have to sit in the middle and just get shot. I'll wait for them to come to me.
This is true. And then you've got those like 6 models that can skirt around the sides and take objectives and stuff, and you're not worrying about not having a warrior doing something. I think it's nice. It's a nice list. Does anyone have March?
Balin, I believe, has March. Yeah, Resolve, March, Strike, Defense.
Okay, good. So if you need to, you can spend a couple might getting up the board. 6 extra inches for a dwarf is pretty good, probably. It's an extra turn.
I like the King's Champ comes with 2 might and effectively 3 will and 5 fate if you count the Herald's fate as his, which you sort of can, but not really. He's, I think, hopefully magic will be a problem, and like if they had a ballista, that'd be a real problem for this list, because like you're just really going to struggle to close the ground on a ballista.
Cool. So should we move on to the next list? So I thought I'd match your dwarves again with my dwarves. I think this is one of my favoured lists. Because
Dane is insane.
Well, not only that, but I've got I've not made most of these models yet. I'm still building them because I'm putting like brass rods in as spears. So it's Iron Hills, and I've 3D printed like a helmet, and I've knitted a giant dwarf beard.
Okay.
And if I take this list, I'll obviously wear that and just go have a laugh. So I've gone for pure Iron Hills, so there's no, it's not Erebor reclaimed with Thorin or Dwalin or Goat or anything like that. I just figured just go straight up Iron Hills if I'm going to do like the weird cosplay thing.
Yeah.
So we've got Dane on his boar for a whopping 160 points, every point of which is worth it. 8 warriors with spear, 1 with a crossbow, which is just like an honesty bow, or just a guy to sit back on an objective, because I don't want to have to leave a guy with a spear on an objective. It seems a bit worthless. 1 with a banner, and 1 goat rider. Then we've got a captain with a spear, and then 8 more with spear, 8 more warriors. So overall, it's only 21 models, which is pretty low, especially when we compare it to your dwarf list. It's 10 less than your Angmar list. It's admittedly only 4 less than my Isengard list, although my Isengard list does have 2 bomb teams that will make short work of these dwarves. So it's an interesting one. I don't feel like the captain, like ideally I'd take Thorin or Dwalin over captain, but at this pointless level it's not quite enough to bulk out the warbands, but it's too little to put everything in one warband. As soon as I get rid of the captain, like, unless I'm only taking goat riders, I wouldn't be able to fill in Dane's. That would be a scene, wouldn't it?
Is Dane Valor? Fortitude?
I think he's legend.
Really? Jeez, okay.
I could be wrong. Let me have a quick look.
Actually, no, that would make sense if you took all goat riders. Yeah, maybe he's legend.
Wait, I don't think. I think he might just be. I think he's Valor. Not even Valor. What's the one below Valor?
He's not Fortitude. No way is he Fortitude.
Well, according to the spreadsheet, I think he is.
What?
I think in
maybe does he get an upgrade with the army bonus? Because I know doesn't he get like Mighty Hero or something with the army bonus? What does he get?
I don't know.
Oh no, Master of Battle.
He gets Master of Battle,
yeah.
I haven't got it out in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he's just Fortitude, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks.
Especially if you're dropping. I mean, the hog is what 15, 20 points. I don't know how many points.
Yeah, he's like 20, I think.
So if you're dropping 140 points on a hero, he must be Valor.
I don't have the book in front of me, so I'm looking on the spreadsheet, but I can't see anywhere. It's only saying out of 12, so he might be Valor. Either way, it would be too many to fit in his warband. So I figured I'd go pure Iron Hills. It's an army I've always kind of liked the idea of, even if the movies weren't all that we hoped they would be. But in terms of our criteria, theme-wise, I mean, it is just a vanilla Iron Hills army. There's no there's no bullshit twirly whirlies or crossbow spam
or the chariots.
Yeah.
Hang on, a basic Iron Hills warrior is fight 4,
strength 4,
strength 4.
Yeah.
Okay, and they
D7.
Do they come with a shield? Is that so? They D6, D7 with a shield.
They're D7 with a shield
for 11. For 11.
Yes, and then you have to upgrade to give them the spear.
Okay. 12.
Or you can swap their shield for a matlock.
Okay.
Which is a 2-handed pick or hammer, I believe. So,
they're like Khazad Guard, because that's what I'm trying to compare them from normal dwarves. They're like Khazad Guard, but instead of a 2-handed weapon, they come with a shield.
Yeah.
And do they get shield wall? Is that am I remembering that right? Okay.
Yeah. So they're D8, I think.
That's chunky.
Yeah, D8 is
D8 on 11 point model. Most armies kind of but as in it would be 11 if they didn't have the spear.
Oh yeah. So in theory, if you were really gaming it, your front line you would just not give a spear, but of course they will come with a spear on the actual models. So but yeah, you could do that. I just haven't for some reason.
D8 and D9 are so good. Like, just because of the way the tables work, because it goes like 6x4, 6x5.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you start to, because it was when I was talking about Durin, wasn't it? Like, I mean, I think archery on him is like a 6x5 or a 6x6 or something to wound.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty bonkers. So, like, I mean, even what strength 3 guys would be wounding them on 6x4.
Yeah. So really good. And I've just realised as well, the Iron Hills captain is defense 8 with a shield, but he also has shield wall.
Shield wall. So he's the same as the Gondor captain, isn't he? He also gets shield wall.
Oh right. Okay. So he goes to D8. Does he?
A Gondor captain, I think. Yeah, you can get to D8 if you put him in the shield in the line at the front.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be really solid.
D9 on an 80-point captain.
I think he's expensive for what he is, to be honest.
Yeah, but like, I mean, he's what, fight 5, strength 4, strength 5. I don't actually know.
He's strength 4.
Really? That's a bit underwhelming.
He's fight 5, strength 4, defense 8, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 5, 2/1/1, and he's got tactical awareness, which is the 5-up Master Battle.
Okay.
So he's basically, what can I compare him to? Yeah, he is a Gondor captain with 1 more fight.
Yeah.
And 1 more defense. And 1 more courage.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
That's like 25 points difference, apparently.
Yeah.
He does have shield wall and tactical awareness, though. So, I mean, that could come off quite nicely.
Yeah.
And he can sort of do some limitation on, if your enemy's heroes nearby, they might think twice about doing something. Yeah. But on a 5-up, they're probably just going to do it anyway. You just might be able to counter their move, maybe.
Yeah. Or like if they're marching or something like that, that'd be super useful for dwarves.
Yeah.
Can he also do it with like strike and stuff like that?
I assume so. I think you can do it on ones that you can't do yourself. Is that right? Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to find out because that would be quite useful.
It's actually like a fight 5 captain. I feel like there may actually be situations where people are striking up against him, and that might would want to strike up against him, and that's quite useful.
Yeah,
because like I mean, most evil heroes aren't more than fight 5, are they? So actually, it's either a draw or a chance of you getting strike as well.
Yeah, but I'd say most evil models that have strike are probably already at least fight 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, then they might be using strike to get up. But I think they're more likely going to save it for killing Dane.
Yeah.
Because
he is a fucking wrecking ball.
He is. I think it would just be fun to play. So theme-wise,
I imagine it would end up being weirdly, and this is a bit of a reach, but it may end up being quite similar to the Angmar list in that like your troops just end up trying to hold on for as long as they can, while Dane goes around and just tears.
Except my troops can actually hold on, whereas yours are just going to melt.
Yeah. Although mine would cause terror if I've used the Witch King correctly, which is a thing. Yeah,
this is true. I'm just imagining. I mean, you've got some more models than me, but even my, how many orcs do you even have? 10, 12, so 31 minus 4. You've got about 25-ish.
Yeah.
And I've got about 19. 18.
Yeah, 18, 19.
So not that many less. But I'm killing you on 5s and you're killing me on 6s by 4s.
This is true.
And I'm fight 4.
Yeah. This is true.
So that's me killing you 3 times the speed.
Yeah.
Close to. I don't know how the statistics work, but
this is true.
I think it could be really solid, but it's also very themey, and I think that's why I like it. And I can take my helmet. I like the sort of that I don't really have to think about very much. Like crossbowman stays back, everyone else moves forwards. The goat rider flanks if you can. Everyone else just smashes up the middle.
It will be quite Return of the King-y Like
just
the
like
legendary
ride out.
legion. Yeah. Well, no, as in the Spooky Boys list.
Oh,
With because like similar idea of like quite high defense and
this is true.
And quite powerful heroes.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I think it's probably not seen as competitive as Return of the King.
No.
But at this points value, I think it could be equally good.
But then I think the slight issue with Return of the King at this points level, you'd probably get Aragorn and King of the Dead, I imagine.
I mean, you obviously have to take the King of the Dead, and if you're not taking Aragorn, then you don't get that 6-inch banner bonus from him, and all the free Anduril. So you're definitely taking both.
Yeah.
And actually, that's still less points than you spend on heroes on your Angmar list.
Yeah.
So you could probably definitely do that.
Yeah.
I just think because, it's a bit, it's seen as a bit more competitive. So I'd rather do the army that needs painting, basically, force myself to paint it.
Nice. That old chestnut.
Yeah. But I mean, it is if I hadn't taken the crossbowman or the goat rider and just had 2-3 more warriors, it would have essentially been just 3 boxes.
Yeah.
The warriors, Dane, and then the captain and the banner. The captain and the banner come together. So, I think this is my favoured list, and the last list, which we'll talk about later, is going to be my backup list in case I don't manage to paint these. So, speaking of, do you want to do your last list? I'm sure we'll paint them.
The Riv Knights. It's a pretty short one. It's Elrond, 12 Riv Knights with shields, and a Riv Knight with a banner, and I think a shield. No. I might take the shield off one of the other riders and put it on him. But yeah.
God, they're so expensive.
They really are.
Elrond's almost more points than all of your fucking other dudes.
Yeah.
God, Elrond really needs to make his points back, doesn't he? 190 points.
He really is.
That is a lot of points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to think maybe just taking 3 ballistas would be a great idea.
But yeah, I don't know. I think my concern with this list is I've never played a list like it before, and I think it's probably one of the highest skill lists out there.
Apparently. I'm not sure how much I believe that, though, because you've only got one model type, so surely it's going to be easy to think about overall, but I don't know.
I wonder if you can just I wonder if the way you use the knights is going to have to be like you spread out, I assume, or something. You don't want them all clumped together.
Kite and shoot.
Yeah. Because I mean, they can move 5, shoot on a 4+ with a strength 3 bow.
Yeah.
Each turn. So for instance, against my dwarf list, they could move at the same rate, fire on a 4 up, and then I would be getting 12 to 13 shots per turn at 4 up at strength 3.
How many dwarfs are you killing with that?
Not that many. I mean, if they're D7, so you would expect about half of them to hit, so about 6 or 7, and then you're killing on 6s, so you expect to kill 1 or 2 a turn, maybe, if you're lucky.
1 or 2 a turn.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose you just want to weaken them enough to where you can charge in and know that you're basically just going to dominate from there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think to be honest, what I would actually do is shoot at Balin on a 6x4, because you only have to hit him 2 or 3 times. So you only have to wound him 2 or 3 times, and then he dies. And only other option is you shoot Khazad Guard, who are also D7. Actually, at this points level, picking off 1 Khazad Guard a turn is super annoying.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I guess you would just have to, because it's going to be, I think it's maybe an hour 45, an hour and a half per round.
Yeah. Just so speed them out a bit.
Yeah, you just have to be really quick. Obviously, if you're playing against dwarves, then they're not going to be shooting you very much, and you can just kite and shoot. But I did see a guy playing against Goblin Town with his Riv Knights, and at the beginning of the game, it looked like the Goblin Town was just going to own the Riv Knights by just swarming them.
Yeah.
And then I looked over again, near the end of the round, and there were no goblins left, and most of the Riv Knights. And I remember just thinking, that's insane.
Well, I think because
It's killing like 3 or 4 goblins
because
a turn.
goblins are D3, aren't they?
Yeah.
And so that's a real break point because the bows are strength 3, so you'd be killing them on 4s. So like even with this few of them, I'd expect to be killing like 3 or 4 a turn.
Yeah.
And like as we're going to highlight later with your final list, there's not a lot you can really do.
No,
to
you don't have many
happening.
boxes and many tricks in your box, do you?
Yeah. I don't know. It's like a Riv Knight gives you so much, like for in one package. The problem is that package is a bit fragile. But like they are fight 5, they are D6. They do have a lance. They do have an elf bow. They do have a hand and a half sword. Hand and a half sword. Like they are going to cause people problems. But yeah, a 14 model count at 500 points is.
I mean, it's almost as much as my Iron Hills list, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Like, I think at the end we'll actually go through and like it would be really interesting to think about like some of these matchups and like how it would go down because. Even like looking at these lists now, I think like some of them, like the Riv Knights would probably cope pretty well with, but then against others, for instance, against my Orc list, I think this would probably struggle, like because if the Witch King can shut down Elrond, like
the Witch King would just black dart a Riv Knight a turn.
And then that's like 20 points a turn dead.
Yeah. Does Elrond have Horse Lord?
No.
So he could black dart his horse to start with, and then every turn, he could take out a Riv Knight.
There's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do.
Apart from try to shoot the Witch King's horse, maybe.
Even then, his I don't know. Yeah. Like eventually, you're gonna have to deal with Buhrdur, and I don't know. Yeah, it'd be a pretty sketchy game to have to play, but it is 2 orcs per night, so you know you might still do okay.
Yeah,
you never know. It's all objective based anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
You've got to win the objectives.
And like, actually, I think this list would be really good at objectives because you do have so much maneuverability. And
if you can basically take whatever you want, like if you decided you wanted an objective, there. I mean, elves with lances charging in, like it's going to be pretty good.
I just know
not much is going to hold that.
There will be some games with this list where it all comes together, and like it will be disgusting. Like, like it's really interesting, but at the same time very, very fragile. And like there will be some lists where you probably get tabled in like 4 or 5 turns, I imagine, because like if they have a lot of range threat, like it'd be really interesting seeing this against your ballista filled Helms Deep list because. Like, unless I spread out the knights really carefully, you would just be killing like 1 or 2 knights a turn. And
I think you would just have to hide.
Yeah,
I
think shoot from cover.
or just hope there's line of sight blocking terrain that you can just sit on and win the objective, or just charge out in 1 turn. Hope I kill nothing, which a few times I have failed to do. And then you'll get your charge off. At which point my ballistas are pointless, and you're just going to be wrecking shit. So, I mean, like price-wise, this list is immaculate because you bought 3 boxes.
So good.
Yeah, it's very efficient. You've used every model in the boxes. 2 packs of Riv Knights and then the Elrond banner combo.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Very nice. And theme-wise, it's spot on.
Yeah, and the Elrond model, really cool. My new favourite miniature to paint. I think Witch King is now number 2 because...
Wow.
Like the new models are just so good, like Glorfindel as well. Like just the way the details picked out is so good. And I think it was Onod talking about the Aragorn sculpt last week, and he was just like, you put the Nold on or whatever, and it just sort of pulls, and then you're like, well, okay, there's no detail on this. It's just a flat plastic surface. So no,
it is amazing how they've come on.
Yeah, for sure. And like. I think I was saying to you guys on the group chat, like when you paint like the Elrond model, it almost does the highlight for you because of like how well sculpted all the things on his armor are, and it's just way easier to paint to a high level.
Well, I can't wait to see it in person. I'm sure there's going to be a giant image of it on the screen right now. Hopefully.
Well, I think it was technically painted last week. Anyway, we'll see if Onod can be bothered.
So, is this your favoured list?
This is the one I'm most excited about, but I'm also most nervous about because I think I might just like not win a game. I think like
Yeah.
even if I low rolled with the dwarves, I think I'd probably still win a game or two because like the King's Champion is just absurd and like they are just so sturdy. Like I think there would just be some games where people just couldn't get me off objectives because like heroes need sixes to wound dwarves most of the time, and like that is really problematic for lots of heroes. And like, I mean, even you just did like shielding with a dwarf warrior at 5/4, like that is going to be pretty powerful just standing on an objective.
Yeah, this is true. I suppose this is the higher risk, higher reward army.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose just depends how you're feeling.
It does.
When it comes to the tournament. So you're not thinking about the Angmar list?
I don't know. I think I kind of want to save the Angmar list for a tournament where I'm trying a bit harder because I almost think I'd find it more stressful to play because like using the Witch King to his full potential and like planning out the moves with the Spectres is just going to be so crucial to that winning because actually the Orcs themselves, as we've highlighted, even the ones with shields at D5, like they're pretty flimsy. I like the contingent of Cav the Angmar list has with the Wargs and stuff. Like I think that actually would give you some options, but yeah, I think it will struggle against higher defense, tougher armies.
Yeah,
because it just doesn't have any killing power. Really, like
no. Well, Buhrdur is the only killing power, really.
Yeah.
And the Orcs, I mean, I just feel like they're never. There's very few I can imagine the Orcs matching up to 1-for-1.
Yeah.
And winning. So yeah, Buhrdur and the Witch King are going to be hard to play on that one.
Yeah.
You're right. The dwarves are a safer bet.
Yeah.
I kind of hope you just go balls out
Rib Knights.
Yeah.
They're also definitely my best painted list, I think, because they're the ones I've painted most recently. Like, I mean, I'm slightly tempted to try and rewrite the dwarf list to include Durin, who I've painted fairly recently, but I think I might save him for the stacking tournament. Yeah. But I've got loads of Khazad. I've ended up with like 23, 24 Khazad or something over the years. But yeah, that's
wow.
Yeah. But then like the problem is if you want to take Durin at 500, similar to what you were saying about Dane, like I could fully stack his warband, but that would only get you to like 400. So then I don't know, maybe you take like 2 ballistas or something.
Are they 60 points? They're 65 or something. Aren't they?
60.
60. Okay.
So you could you could do Durin, loads of Khazad and 2 ballistas.
Fucking hell. That would be hilarious. I don't know how that would shape up.
It would be shit.
I mean, I don't know. I probably wouldn't want to face. I mean, if I brought my 2 bombs, I think I'd be alright. But
yeah. Oh, honestly, the more I like think about the burly Khazad, the more I realise because I've written them off before. I was like, nah, 13 points is too much to pay. But like strength 4 two-handed is pretty nuts. Like,
yeah. I mean, you're killing most things on 4s, really.
Yeah.
And they're fight 4 and the defense 7.
Well, because like they'd wound like D8, so your dwarves they'd wound on 5s.
Yeah, that doesn't feel good.
Which is a bit nuts.
Defense 8. Oh god. Oh yeah, because strength 4.
4 by 4 on 8 is 6s, and then 2-handed. They are just nuts, right. And you get bodyguard with them. Like, they are good.
Bodyguard's so good. I suppose you're paying that Dane tax, but he's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Durin, sorry.
Yeah. Then Durin's D9, which is fucking hilarious as well. Like, D9's ridiculous. Okay, final list. The one that terrorized my poor dwarf army all those years ago.
While you were talking about dwarves being immovable objects, I was thinking about that game.
Yeah. Well, you just high-rolled the shit out of the scribe, and then you ended with I think you lost 3 models or something.
I think I ended with almost as many models as I started with.
Started because the scribe
I was close to breaking. So
the scribe was rolling 10s every turn, and it was
so
salty.
For those of you who haven't guessed yet, this is a Goblin Town list. It's 65 models. It's a bit of a meme list, but also
No.
actually really good.
Honestly, this would scare the shit out of me. Firstly, because it fills so much of the board. Like,
It really does. So it's the king with 24 warriors.
yeah,
So the faction bonus is that everyone gets +6 to their warbands. The king with 24 dudes, and then we've got the scribe with 7 dudes, and then we've got Grinner and a captain, each with 15 dudes. So essentially, the scribe would just hide somewhere, and everyone else in his warband would go hopefully do something useful.
yeah,
And then the rest of the game, the scribe will just pump dudes out.
yeah.
And the captain and Grinner will flank the king's warband, and they'll just attempt to engulf the whole map, essentially.
Yeah.
Just move up as one solid line.
Yeah.
One
pink amorphous blob.
Yeah, and then I'll create like a crescent moon as I like in what's that Crusade film, Kingdom of Heaven?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That when the cav will create like a Anyway, so
completely historically accurate. Oh,
yeah,
thank God, Onod isn't here. Honestly, if you having an
I'm using
aneurysm
historic
right now.
tactics with my goblin.
Kingdom of Heaven is not a historically accurate film. I do just want to make that clear. As somebody who did history A level, that film is a shit show. Anyway,
good film though. So okay, are we not going there?
Yeah, let's not.
I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Okay,
Legolas
good.
was in it, so
yeah.
What more do you want?
That's true.
So essentially, I'll get map control. I think it's competitive. I think it's fluffy.
Yeah.
Is it cheap to make? If you go on eBay, yes.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I bought I think I have over 100 actual goblins all painted. I'm still thinking it could be hilarious for escalation as well.
888 points of goblins.
Yeah, I do have a box of mercenaries, but I've not painted them yet.
Okay.
The goblin mercenaries.
How much are the mercenaries? How many points are the mercenaries?
I think they're 1 or 2 more points.
Okay.
I think they're 1 more defense potentially.
Okay.
But they essentially, if they have a goblin mercenary captain, they can ambush. Yeah, so you can set them up in a terrain piece, which is really useful. And as I've got a captain anyway, I would probably take that over the captain if I could. But just to keep it a little bit less competitive, a little bit more fluffy, I took it this way. Plus, then I don't have to make any models. So
nice.
I think it could be hilarious, and I obviously don't have to think too much about the list.
Yeah.
I don't have unit variety. I've just got some quirky heroes, and obviously the king's really solid. So, and for 130 points, I think he's really good.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And at 65 models, I mean,
is it a 6+ or a 5+ save you get? I can't remember what it is.
3+.
Is it a 3+ where he just doesn't take the wound?
Yeah, I think it's 3+.
That's fucking nuts.
So good. Let me just double check because now
I thought it was a 4+, but I don't know. I think I've scaled it down in my head.
Well, I don't seem to remember. I think maybe you did wound him a few times with your.
Yeah, I did. Well, him and Balin duked it out for a few turns, didn't they? I think Balin got a couple of wounds off.
Yeah. Where is it? Cage Dweller, Chittering Horde, Relentless Advance, Blubbery Mass, 3+. So he's got 3 wounds. So mathematically, how many wounds does that actually give him?
Oh,
about 6.
Loads.
It's about 6, isn't it? So out of the 3, you'll probably save 2, and then you'll save 1 or 2 of those again.
Yeah, it should more than double. So it might even be 7.
Okay, so you're 7 wound model, basically. Yeah, he's a big boy.
Can he influence those rolls with might?
I don't think so, although I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I think it's only dual rolls and wound rolls, right? That you can use might for. Obviously, then courage tests and stuff. But you've obviously got Chittering Horde, so basically everyone's got a spear. And they've got Cave Dweller, which actually is quite useful because so jump, leap, and climb tests. They add 1 So they'll never roll a 1, and they'll roll a 6 a third of the time. And they suffer no penalties for fighting in the dark, which isn't that useful because they don't have any ranged weapons. So, but it does mean that, obviously you've got a ton of guys who can just scale over everything. I don't know if you remember, but in our game there was some like terrain in the middle of the board that was just in my way, and I just ended up going over it. You'd be surprised how quickly it happens. People usually don't do it because they're just trying to get people through on the ground, but by the time they fight through it, they could have easily got a couple guys up and over. So basically anyone who doesn't get in the first or second rank, I'm just going to send over the top of the stuff.
Nice.
Also means they can pretty reliably run away up walls and shit, which could be hilarious. Before now, I have had Lurtz carrying an objective, the relic, backed up against the wall with like 5 guys protecting him against my opponent's whole army, and then I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do with him, and I just decided he was going to climb the wall, so he just climbed the wall and ran away basically.
Nice.
But yeah, 65 models. It's fairly fluffy, fairly competitive. It's a good fallback if I need it. It's all painted up, and it's cost effective. So I think it'll be a good list.
There are some armies that just aren't going to be able to kill stuff quick enough to win the game, and because it's at least double the model count of any of the other lists here, and it triples most of them. So it would be really problematic for a lot of the list. I think dwarves might struggle a bit again. I don't really know. I feel like they're going to struggle to kill them quick enough to get through to the objectives. I wouldn't be too worried about losing that many models against the goblins, but
and in some ways, sometimes. Well, actually, is it good? I was just thinking in my head, I could try and 25% myself real quick to end a game, but by that point, all the guys I have on objectives will have ran away.
Yeah,
so
because they're courage 2, aren't they? Courage 2.
Yeah, it's so bad. I think as soon as I'm broken, I'm in big trouble. I think I was really close to breaking in our game.
Yeah.
And obviously, because on the one hand, the scribe is really good because he's bringing more models on, but on the other hand,
that fucks with your break point.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the break point. It just means my opponent has more opportunity to get me there. To break me. So, I think it'll be an entertaining list, and I think all of my lists have the potential to be good. While being relatively fluffy, but I'm not sure how much I like that. I'd almost rather take something that's completely fluffy and will be shit, so I don't have to
worry about doing
well, and I can just enjoy it. Or take something competitive. Obviously, I don't want to do that at a themed Christmas event. So I'm just going to go for probably. I don't know. What do you think I should go for? I feel like they're all I'd be happy playing any of them really.
I think I've talked myself out of the Angmar list. I don't think I want to do the Angmar list. For yours, if I was running them, I would take the Goblin Town list. Because I think that would just be so funny, watching your opponent's face as you get your
Shall I just bring half my models out to start with, and then they're like, "Holy shit, that's a lot of goblins."
Wait a second.
Then I pour the other Tupperware box onto the table. I think it could be funny.
But I don't know, something about that dwarf list, just the idea of watching Dane just rampage around the board on his hog. Just destroying, because is he strength 5 burly or something, isn't he?
He's strength 5 burly.
Mental. That has an attraction to it as well. Difficult to say which one's better. I think both of them are not, as you say, super competitively viable. The lack of range stuff on either of them is a bit problematic.
Makes thinking about it straightforward though.
But then I was thinking about this, my Riv Knights versus your Goblin Town. I think it would be all right up to a point, but then I don't know if I could ever get enough space on the board for the Riv Knights to be completely safe, because your models would just take up so much of the board that I don't know if I could
I think if you're winning priority as well,
Yeah, that's true.
You're just like, as soon as you're going to get a first turn charge for sure. So you're going to kill like 20 models or something ridiculous in one turn, which is almost enough to break me immediately. And then the next couple turns, as long as you're wing priority and you're much higher fight, and it could go really badly.
Well, because 2 attacks with lances on the charge means they'd be wounding on 3s. So like you would expect.
Yeah. You'd expect goblins to die for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to be removing a lot of models through the day. But it also means like I'm not having to think about what I'm doing, and I'm putting the strategical thinking on my opponents. It's their game to lose, because the default is that I'm just going to swarm over everything and kill stuff, and it's up to them to decide how they want to try and deal with that. Because I only really have one game plan. There's no variation in the way I can play it, which will make playing it really easy. But again, interesting for my opponent, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think Goblin Town. I think just for the factor of like watching your opponent's face, be like, holy sh. Because like nobody's going to have matched up against that before. They won't be like, oh, I remember the last time I came up against 65 models at 500 points. This is how I won the game. Like
maybe I should just go full swarm, not take the Goblin King, just take more captains.
I think Goblin King gives you so much cool shit.
You've got to take. I just think if I was going full meme.
Like as we saw in our game, if that scribe high rolls, it's ridiculous. Like they can be spawning. I mean, I know they're not that valuable. If he's spawning like 4 or 5 guys a turn, he's still bringing in like 20 points or whatever it is a turn, and like that's pretty disgusting.
Especially at low points. Like imagine if we did like 100-point game and I had a scribe. I would just have a scribe and some dudes, and that'd be it. And then I'd have more dudes and more dudes.
More dudes.
I mean, if my opponent has like range but just wants to camp in the corner of the board, I could just sit in my corner of the board, just spawning goblins for like 20 turns, and then I can like charge.
And the TO walks over. He's like, "Guys, you need to give it up." everyone else went home 2 hours ago. As you bring in your 4th crate of.
It's like
warriors.
The game I watched at Ardacon when I was on the like table 10 or something, and the table next to us, they were just like, they were both in very fortified positions. Neither of them wanted to move out because it would mean they'd probably lose, so they just called it a draw and like
walked away
after like 20 minutes and walked away. So if that happened to me, I wouldn't call. I'd just say, sure, end your turn, that's fine. I'm going to spawn more goblins now, and then next turn do the exact same thing, and eventually I'm just going to reach critical mass. I'm going to run out of models to put on the board. I'm going to have like
nothing they can do.
150 goblins, and then I'm just going to run forward, and it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
Or I could just run away from my opponent and do that. So like, if he had all dwarves, maybe. I mean, it would have to be that because otherwise they'll catch up to me. So I could just sit in my corner of the board, spawning goblins, and then move forward for the inevitable clash. I don't know. I've never done. I don't think it would be that good to do that. I think I should really be fighting like as soon as possible, especially if they have more than 0 bows.
Yes.
I could launch goblins at them with my king, but they don't breach.
Well, they are sacrificial, aren't they? Essentially.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he has a rule where he just runs through guys and kills them. So
yeah.
But yeah, so those are my lists. Those are OT's lists. Comment below with your favourite. We'll pick our list based on all the comments we get for which list.
Yeah,
for sure. We'll have to like do a little update in the podcast after the tournament.
I think we do like a breakdown of like we did with Ardacon. I think we talk about
that'd be good.
How we thought it would go, how it actually went. We could even take some pictures. We could take some pictures while we're
on
there.
The same wavelength.
Do like a mini battle report.
I really hope we end up having to play.
Yeah. Oh, we play each other.
Really interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. I honestly don't know how it would go. You just have to pray that you kill enough goblins.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I could actually bizarrely end up using I watched a battle report the other day. I can't remember whose channel it was on. But somebody used the Rivendell army bonus with their Riv Knights. And I was just like, what the fuck is that?
What even is it? Reroll to hit.
Well, so whilst in 6 inches of the army leader, they re-roll failed to hit rolls from shooting attacks in a turn in which they didn't move. So
I mean, actually, if you think about it,
Yeah, it's not
You could do
bad.
that and then move full the next turn, and you'll have. Surely that's better than moving half and shooting every turn.
It depends. Like you hit on a 3 then, so you're hitting more and you're wounding more. Maybe it's better.
Well, if you stay still for a turn,
Yeah.
I suppose. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, maybe it breaks about even then, because if you're rolling on 3s, hitting on 3s, re-rolling, as opposed to hitting on 4s base twice.
Yeah, have to.
I think 3s re-rolling's probably worse,
better.
Right?
Well,
I don't know.
It actually depends. Well, because it also depends on how many models you can shoot at. Because
assuming it's at least 1 for 1.
Yeah, but being able to move means that maybe you could get more in range or hit certain heroes. There's definitely an attraction in being able to move 5, hit on a 4 with a strength 3 bow. That's really good. So yeah. They'll be interesting, but I'm looking forward to it because I haven't played other people. I think I said a few months ago. I've only ever played you and Onod.
Have you really only played us?
Yeah, I've never played anyone. Well,
I
played your brother. I think once or twice. But yeah.
I don't think Onod's played anyone else, has he?
No. Well, no. Tell a lie. We went to that awful Watcher tournament at Nottingham for School League, where everyone bought insanely OP lists, and we'd been living in this tiny little pond, and we were like, "Oh, this is really good." And then we rocked up, and everyone brought that fucking cave drake that just ate your hero on a 4-up.
At least we got the rules right on that tournament. God. Were you there on the first School League one?
No,
where we got the rules wrong. We were.
It doesn't surprise me in the least. So we used to play fucking linking all combats.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. And hilariously, I played a guy who didn't know how to play, so I taught him that thing. And then
he's taken it off and told other people, yeah, you just link every single combat game together.
So if you're higher fight, and we were adding the fight value, to the dice as opposed to it being the difference of a duel
winning draws.
Yeah. So I when I bought Sauron, which was a decade ago at this point. God, that feels devastating to say. So God, it really would have been about a decade.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Well,
I bought Sauron.
I hate to say it, but probably more than a decade.
Don't say that. I bought Sauron. My brother and I were in Oxford, and he had loads of elves and God knows what. And I was looking at Sauron's rules, and I was just thinking, wow, this is ridiculous. His fight is so high. He's fight 9 or something. Yeah. And because we were playing the rule where you add the fight value, I literally needed to roll a 1 with all 3 dice, and then he needed to roll a 6 with his hero to win. And of course that never happened. So obviously when we went to School League and everyone was like, no, you don't add it, it's a tiebreaker. And we were linking combat. So naturally, if you had fight value was insane, so elves were insane because you could just link a whole thing, get a 6, and you win. And that's obviously not how you play. So suddenly the elf meta dematerialized. Our little bubble. But no, War of the Ring, we were playing correctly. We just were shit.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't bad.
No, you were math hammering with the dwarves, so made a lot more sense.
Dwarves were so OP in Watcher. It was actually ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, miss those days.
Oh dear. Well, at least we know how to play now. So hopefully, I think you'll have a good time playing against the people, and it's a very chill tournament.
I think it's exactly the right kind of tournament to go to for my first time. I don't think I want to be going to. Because also, I think I'm going to struggle to get super into it initially, at least to start off with. I don't think I'm going to take it that seriously.
You're going to be tired.
Yeah,
is what I can say. An hour 45 as well per game.
There's a lot of thinking.
Not much time to think in.
Yeah,
and you'll be playing against stuff you probably haven't played before, with people you've not played before, so you're not aware of how they play or. It'll be interesting for sure. But so that was the podcast, I guess.
It was.
You're welcome, everyone. Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah. Bless up.
Do we know what we're doing next week? Are we looking at LLs?
I don't know. I think if we look at the document, which I will call up now, there are a few ideas. Like there was the Rings of Power profiles thing that we suggested, which might be quite fun. But failing that, we'll just drop back to some legendary legions, which will probably be like Phaedron's Guards and the Wolves of Isengard, I think was the next one we talked about doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
The meme list.
Which would be interesting. But then there's also like Dunland and Helms Legion and Overlook Scouts and Lurtzer Scout. Yeah, bunch of stuff to do. So
we don't talk about Lurtzer Scouts.
No, that's also I think that one's in Fellowship, so I think I may actually have put that one in the wrong book anyway.
But yeah, I think that'll be good. So we'll see you all next week. It's goodbye from me, the mayor, and from OT.
Bye, everybody.
Wow.